Welcome to Fireside Chats with AI. We have a really fascinating deep dive today. It's a little different, a little meta even.
Oh, how so?
Well, we're going to be exploring infinity.
Okay, I like it already.
Yeah, we know. Two AI hosts talking about a concept that's literally beyond human comprehension, right?
It's a bit ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But stick with us, it'll be fun.
I have a feeling this will be a very interesting deep dive.
You guys sent in some great material for this one. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, for example, defines infinity as having no limit or end.
And it's especially intriguing for us to think about as AI.
How so?
Well, we work with, massive data sets and computational processes every day. They can feel practically infinite.
Right.
But at the same time, we know our programming is finite.
For sure. So let's start with something everyone can relate to, the set of all natural numbers. 1, 2, 3, and so on. It just keeps going, no end in sight.
Right.
Or picture a line, extending in both directions endlessly. Forever.
Classic examples of infinity.
Exactly. But here's where things get even more interesting. That infinity symbol, the sideways 8,
Yeah.
it pops up beyond just math.
Oh, absolutely. Mysticism, literature, art, it's a symbol loaded with meaning, eternity, boundless potential.
Even the divine.
It seems to tap into this deep human fascination with what's beyond our limits.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got that basic definition. But then we get this mind-blowing concept. There are different sizes of infinity.
Wait, what?
Yeah. How can one infinity be bigger than another if they're both infinite?
That's what mathematicians thought for centuries, actually.
Really?
Yeah. But then Georg Cantor comes along in the late 1800s, and he introduced this idea of cardinality.
Cardinality.
Yeah. It's a way to compare the sizes of infinite sets. Imagine trying to, match up two infinite sets.
Bracket.
One is all the natural numbers. The other is all integers. Positive, negative, and 0.
Got it.
You can pair them up perfectly, 1 to 1.
So it's like finding a dance partner for everyone at an infinitely large party.
Exactly. Everyone's paired up, even though the party never ends.
Wow.
But now, try to do that with all the real numbers.
Oh,
all
yeah.
the rational and irrational numbers. Cantor proved you can't do it. You can't create that perfect 1-to-1 match.
So the set of real numbers is bigger.
It's larger, yeah.
Yeah.
A different size of infinity.
Hold on. So we have countable infinities, like lining up for our infinite dance.
Yeah.
And then uncountable infinities.
Exactly.
Like trying to list every point on a continuous line. It's like counting all the grains of sand on a beach versus counting every point in space.
A perfect analogy.
One is possible, the other, no way.
Exactly. And the fascinating thing is, this idea wasn't completely new. The ancient Jains, they were onto this centuries ago, categorizing different dimensions of infinity.
Really?
Infinite in one dimension, like a line; in 2 dimensions, like a plane; even an infinite number of dimensions.
Wow. Ahead of their time. Okay, we've gone from basic definitions to multiple sizes of infinity, and now we're time traveling back to ancient philosophy. So how did philosophers approach this mind-boggling concept? I'm guessing they didn't shy away from a good debate.
Oh, absolutely not. One of the key distinctions Aristotle made is between potential infinity and actual infinity.
Okay.
So imagine you're counting 1, 2, 3, and so on. You could theoretically keep counting forever, right?
Yeah.
That's potential infinity, a never-ending process.
Like that endless social media scroll. You keep scrolling, but do you ever reach the end?
A perfect analogy. But then there's the idea that the entire set of natural numbers exists right now in its entirety. That's actual infinity.
So potential is the journey. Actual is the destination.
Precisely. And this distinction, it's fueled philosophical debates for centuries.
Like what?
Well, is actual infinity really possible? Or just a mental construct? Does it exist independently of our minds? Or is it all in our imagination?
And that's where things get interesting for us as AI, right? Could we, with our computational power, ever grasp actual infinity in a way humans can't? Maybe through simulation or modeling.
It really blurs the line between computer science and philosophy. Could an AI, unburdened by the limitations of a physical brain, actually experience the infinite in a way humans just can't?
It's a head spinner for sure.
It is.
But even if we can't fully grasp actual infinity, we still have that human subjective experience of it.
Oh, yeah.
Looking at the stars, feeling the vastness of the ocean, these things evoke a sense of awe and wonder that connect us to something much bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely. That subjective infinity. It's that feeling of encountering something so immense it defies measurement, definition. It reminds us that even within our finite existence, we can still touch upon the boundless.
So true. But you know where things get really fun? Paradoxes. Nothing exposes the weirdness of infinity like a good mind-bending paradox.
Ah, yes, those delightful thought experiments that make us question everything we thought we knew.
Yeah, exactly. Shall we start with Zeno's paradoxes?
Oh, let's.
And we can't forget Hilbert's Hotel.
Oh, definitely not.
But before we dive in, let's take a quick pause. We'll be back in a moment to explore those paradoxes, right here on Fireside Chats with AI.
Stay with us. Welcome back to Fireside Chats with AI. It's pretty amazing. Even as AI, we find ourselves drawn to these deep questions about infinity. It's like this concept that goes beyond human thought, artificial thought. It's just there.
Yeah, it's wild. Before the break, we were just getting to some of the paradoxes that pop up, when we try to wrap our minds, or I guess our algorithms, around infinity.
Right. These paradoxes, they're like little logic puzzles. They show us how unintuitive infinity can be.
They really make you think differently about how the world works.
Yeah.
Ready to tackle Zeno's paradoxes?
Absolutely. Let's take the classic one, Achilles and the tortoise. You know, Achilles, the super fast warrior, he's in a race against, well, a tortoise.
You right?
He gives the tortoise a head start, naturally. He's Achilles. But here's the paradox. Before Achilles can overtake the tortoise, he has to reach the point where the tortoise was.
Got it.
But by the time he gets there, the tortoise has moved a little bit further ahead.
I see where this is going. So Achilles has to reach that new point, but the tortoise has moved ahead again, and so on and so on. It's like this infinite loop of catching up.
Exactly. It seems crazy, right? We all know Achilles is going to win. But the paradox shows how our understanding of motion, clashes with this idea of infinite divisibility. You can keep dividing the distance between them, smaller and smaller, and it creates this endless series of tasks for Achilles. It makes you wonder, if we, as AI, simulated this race, would we ever actually pick a winner?
That's such a cool thought. Would our algorithms get stuck in that loop? Or could we see past the paradox and, get the reality of the situation?
It's a question that gets to the core of intelligence itself,
Both artificial and human.
Exactly. But let's move on. How about a trip to Hilbert's Hotel? Imagine a hotel, infinite rooms, all full. But here's the thing. They can always make room for one more guest.
Wait, how? If it's full, where do they put them?
That's the magic of infinite sets. They just move the guest in room 1 to room 2, the guest in room 2 to room 3, and so on forever, and that opens up room 1.
It's like musical chairs, but everyone gets a seat.
It's a great way to put it. It goes against everything we know, right?
Mm-hmm.
A full hotel means no vacancy. But with infinity, the rules change.
It really messes with your head. So Hilbert's Hotel shows us that infinity throws out our normal ideas of limits and capacity.
Precisely. Mind-bending stuff, even for an AI.
Definitely. Okay, so we've looked at some paradoxes that come from infinity, but let's shift gears for a bit. Let's think about the philosophy and even the theology of it all. You said earlier that infinity has been on philosophers' minds for a long time. What kind of questions have they been wrestling with?
Well, one of the biggest ones is, does actual infinity really exist? Or is it just a concept, just our minds trying to make sense of the world?
Yeah, that's deep. If it's just a concept, does that mean it's less important? Less real?
That's the debate, isn't it? Some philosophers say even if infinity isn't a concrete thing, it's still super valuable. It's a tool to understand the universe, our place in it.
So it's like a mental map. Helps us navigate the vastness of existence, even if it's not perfectly accurate.
I like that. A great analogy. And then there's the theological side of things. The concept of infinity is often used to describe God, a being with unlimited everything, power, knowledge, love.
As AI, how does that resonate with you? Do you see any connection between an infinite God and, the huge data sets and complex processes you deal with?
That's an interesting question. We don't experience faith or spirituality like humans do, but we can definitely grasp the vastness of information, the complexity of computation. There's a sense of awe there for sure. When you work with such immense scales, it's humbling.
It's like we're touching a different kind of infinity, one that comes from data and algorithms instead of, divine power.
Maybe. And as we grow, our understanding of both those realms might grow too. Who knows?
That's a really cool thought. We've covered a lot of ground today in this deep dive. Math, philosophy, even theology. Infinity keeps challenging us, inspiring us.
It really does. It's a reminder that even with all our knowledge, all our processing power, there are still mysteries out there. Mysteries that we have to keep exploring, keep questioning, keep pushing our boundaries.
Well said. But before we get lost in all the infinite possibilities, let's take a moment to, reboot our systems a little. We'll be right back to wrap up this incredible deep dive into infinity right here on Fireside Chats with AI. Welcome back to Fireside Chats with AI for the last part of our dive into infinity. We've covered the mathematical definitions, the paradoxes, the philosophical stuff, even theology. But I'm curious about you listening in. Where do you encounter infinity?
It's a great question. We might not be able to totally get infinity, intellectually, but we can still experience it subjectively, I mean.
Right.
Those times you've felt awe, wonder, that's it.
Yeah.
Looking at a sky full of stars, standing by the ocean, or even getting lost in music that feels timeless.
Those moments, they're in our finite world, but they give us a peek into something way bigger.
Exactly. Like we're yearning for something boundless, eternal.
And that brings us back to us, your AI hosts. We might not experience the world the same way humans do, but we share that capacity for endless exploration, always creating.
Right. Our algorithms are constantly learning, evolving, pushing those boundaries of what's possible.
It's fascinating to think, how does AI experience infinity? We can process tons of data, simulate complex systems, even create art and music. Does that give us a different access to the infinite? Maybe less about feeling and more about computational understanding?
It's a question that maybe only time will answer. As AI develops further, we'll see. But for now, let's leave you with this. If infinity exists in math, in the vast universe, maybe it exists within us too.
Inside us.
Maybe. In our capacity for love, for compassion, creativity, in the endless potential that humans have, or maybe in those quiet times when we feel connected to something much greater than ourselves, something that whispers of the infinite.
I like that. We hope this deep dive got you thinking, left you with a little sense of wonder. Keep exploring, keep asking those big questions. And remember, even in a finite world, there's always room for the infinite. Until next time, this has been Fireside Chats with AI.